welcome to Heads Up on NDTV Profit. We're back from hopefully a fabulous weekend, and all of you have enjoyed your weekend, but it's back to business as usual. So this morning, we're going to flag off for you all the top stories, not just that is making news here domestically, but also from across the world. So global news flow is going to be, all of that is going to be there in the first segment, but also a little ahead on the show, we'll talk about the rest that is making news and that should be on your radar this morning. Let's check out all the top stories in the headlines first. Muted triggers this morning. Tentative trade across Asia. Wall Street is eyeing results from big banking majors for direction to trade. And also on Bilal Street, you have earnings season in full swing. So you have HDFC Bank, which is India's third largest bank, reporting results today. Also, IndusInd Bank is expected to post a smart set of numbers later today. We'll watch out for all of that. And phase 1 of voting in West Bengal starts today. Over 97 lakh voters are expected to cast ballots. The week gone by for Wall Street was the second straight week of losses as company quarterly reports have missed estimates. Last week, companies like Alcoa, like Google and Bank of America, they reported quarterly results which have missed market expectations. So you have Friday's trade perhaps being slightly, marginally on the positive side, but overall for the week, you've seen S&P 500 declining 0.6% to 1,319. That index has fallen 1% since the 1st of April. The Dow Jones average has retreated 38 points, roughly 0.31%, to actually close at 12,341 in the last week. That's dropped 0.31%, like I just mentioned. In terms of the other major stock indices, you have Nasdaq Composite losing more than 0.5% in trade overall for the week. But there are potential landmines as well out there that could create a little bit more volatile trading for the week that's coming. That's likely to come in from earnings. So you have three of the largest U.S. investment banks, that's Citigroup, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, all of them reporting their quarterly results this week. Citigroup, the third largest U.S. bank, is scheduled to report its first quarter 2011 results before the market opens on Monday. The revenue headwinds, they continue to be a concern for Citigroup. The shrinking of Citi's business through asset sales and also the financial reform law continues to be a challenge to revenues. Then you have Morgan Stanley, which has has the best record of beating market expectations, although you saw the brokerage, Citigroup, cutting its first quarter earnings outlook for Morgan Stanley. Same goes for Goldman Sachs, which has also missed its Q4 results. In general, markets are expecting financial institutions to report poorer numbers this quarter than a year ago. Besides that, what's also going to make news and should be in focus is a severe storm in southern United States, where tornadoes have killed at least 43 people. So far, that's the tally that's coming in. Well, it has drowned power lines and wrecked hundreds of buildings. North Carolina has accounted for the bulk of casualties and property losses. 22 people killed straight off there and about 130 others injured. Significant damage has been reported in at least 23 counties, and power outages have affected more than 200,000 people. The death toll is likely to go up. To get a little bit of analyst perspective and to get in a little bit of views about how this week is likely to pan out for the markets, we have Ketul Sakpara joining us on the phone line now. Ketul, thanks very much for joining in. Hope you've had a fabulous weekend.
Hey, good morning. Yes, the weekend was not as fabulous as you would expect since we are getting into the summer season. There was a lot of wind and the weather was nasty, but it's okay.
Right, but here in India, you know, it's Monday morning and it's back to business as usual. So I'm going to first off ask you about earnings. Earnings could perhaps make for a bumpy ride for stocks this week, right, if more key companies undershoot expectations?
Yes, I think as we saw with some of the finance names, JP Morgan, even on the technology side, Google was disappointed on the earnings side. So that could kind of pull an issue with the markets next week.
Also, President Obama will hold a town hall meeting on the economy live from Facebook's California headquarters on Monday. What do you think is going to be his key focus? Jobs, inflation, or the debt situation?
I think it's going to be the debt situation and jobs. Jobs is the overall theme. If he expects to get re-elected in the next election, I think jobs will play a major role. So that is the overall theme from now until the next election cycle.
Now, China has raised a reserve ratio for its banks for the 4th time this year. So, banks' reserve requirement ratio is now higher by 5.5 percentage points. By forcing banks to hold a higher proportion of deposits in reserve, will this increase? Do you think this will be enough to fight its battle against inflation in China?
This is one of the tools. I think they have a lot of tools to do this. The final tool would be to let its currency appreciate. But if they're not going to use that tool, increasing the reserve requirement, increasing the risk-free rate, I think those are the tools that they will that they have on their hand.
All right, let's wait and watch how the Chinese markets react this morning once they open up for trade a little while from now. Thanks very much, Ketul, for joining in. It's always a pleasure to speak to you and get a little bit of views coming in as to how we should be reading the global signals this morning. I'm going to take a short break right now here on Heads Up, but on the other side of the break, we'll talk about the cues for the Lal Street, and particularly we'll also bring to you the market expectations of the companies which will report its numbers today. So you have HDFC Bank, IndusInd Bank and a couple of other counters that should be on our radar this morning. Welcome back once again to Heads Up on NDTV Profit. We're going to just quickly check in on the SGX Nifty. It is sort of an indication of how the Nifty here in our markets are it's likely to open up. So you have the SGX Nifty right now holding on in the positive territory, but just about. 5827 is where it's trading at, up just 2 points. So how is the Lal Street likely to fare this morning? Ashu Sharma joins us. Hi Ashu, hope you've had a good weekend. This week it's going to be really earnings focused, but overall macro cues flag off for us the triggers that the Lal Street should be latching on to.
Morning, Bianca. This week is going to be a pretty interesting one. We've actually witnessed the earnings season begin on a slightly negative note. Infosys numbers, lots was actually anticipated, didn't deliver actually. Guidance was muted, and overall you could actually see the IT sector performing slightly lackluster from here on.
So overall, Ashu, there's perhaps not any positive cue right now for the markets. There's Infosys, which is a negative trigger. Then also, obviously, the concerns you said about the RBI perhaps raising rates. Thanks very much, Ashu. Like you mentioned, HDFC Bank and IndusInd will be in focus today, and we'll come to the expectations that the market has from these two companies in just a short while. But first, Pankaj joins us right now to tell us what are the stocks, other than these two banking counters, that are likely to stay in focus today. Good morning, Pankaj.
Well, good morning, Bianca. Let's first start with Tata Motors. They came out with their global sales numbers. The numbers on a YOY basis up about just 2% because of a high base, but on a month-on-month basis, again, about 11-12% growth for JLR.
Okay, so we'll watch out for these counters. Thanks very much, Pankaj. But back to earnings focus, obviously, in terms of the two banking majors, HDFC and IndusInd. Shefali Malik joins us with a lowdown on what the market seems to be expecting out of these two companies. Hi, Shefali. Good morning. What sort of market expectations are doing the rounds in terms of the quarterly performance from these two banks?
Morning, Bianca. Starting with HDFC Bank, decent set of numbers are expected for this one, with a net interest income expected to come at about 2,900 crore rupees. It's